Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Valerie Sterne, and this is the Sterne Report, where we talk about how policy shapes our schools, our communities, and our democracy. I am so excited to have bilingual advocate and expert educator Blanca Galvez-Perez as my first interview guest on this platform. Blanca has been a bilingual educator and advocate for over 24 years. She has been an Andrews Teacher of the Year. She's a nationally board certified teacher. She's an advocate for bilingual education and dual language in Austin ISD and beyond. She has served as a parent representative on the TABE board, which is the Texas Association for Bilingual Education, and presented there multiple times. She has also served on ABE, the Austin Area Association for Bilingual Education, on the board for the last 10 years in multiple roles, including the president. She has worked in collaboration with the district and the education department of the government in Spain and Region 13 in recruiting and supporting bilingual teachers to teach in Austin ISD and surrounding districts for many years. And most importantly, she has spent 18 years educating, advocating for, and being in community with the families of Andrews Elementary. Bienvenida, amiga mía.
Gracias. Thank you so much. My pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, let's start off with, can you start by sharing a little about your own journey as a bilingual educator and advocate and what drew you to this work?
Yeah, so like you said, I've been in Andrews Elementary. It's a beautiful, diverse community for the last 18 years. I started as a second grade bilingual teacher. Back in the day, it was a transitional bilingual program, and then we became dual language. And then I was a third grade teacher for 12 years, and now I am a bilingual dyslexia interventionist here in my campus, same community, really proud to still being here fighting the good fight. I came from Madrid, Spain, on the same program that now I support through the agreement that we have with the government of Spain and the district and Region 13. I came as an international teacher, and I was an ESL teacher back in Spain in a really completely different community, high social economical level. I was teaching English, pre-K through sixth grade, and I knew I was missing something. I felt like we weren't doing it right, so I wanted to know more. Back in Spain, I studied two bachelor's degree, one major in elementary and the second one major in teaching English as a second language. When I came here, I was looking for a better way to teach English. I did my master's degree here in TEFL in teaching foreign languages, and I realized that the program wasn't right here either, that we had still a long way to go. So I started to get involved in the different committees, the MEAC, the DAC, the CSC in my campus. I attended all kinds of conferences and professional developments. Back in the day, we started with Gomez and Gomez and learned as much as I could so I could better service my community. And here we are.
Here we are. Great.
Yes.
So in your own words, could you explain the goals of dual language education to our audience who might be
Yes.
unfamiliar with it?
And apart from being a teacher, I'm also a mom of two bilingual kids, hopefully becoming trilingual. So I really believe in bilingual, multilingual education for all. The first goal is for them to be biliterate and bilingual for real, that they can talk two or more languages, speak, listen, read, and write. The bilingual program has to have high expectations academically. The kids should be on grade level in all subject areas. When we are talking about a dual language program of quality, we are teaching language through content, but that doesn't mean that the content should be different than in a monolingual program, right? We should have strategies for our students to achieve the content on grade level in different languages. And then there's a third component that I've been learning more and more the last years, and is the sociocultural component. That is the connection with the identity, with the culture, where the kids see themselves, right? Dual languages or bilingualism is not just about teaching the language, but being immersed on the culture. The kids need to identify themselves. And when it's not your home language, you need to also learn that culture and be immersed into that and respect that. So it's a lot about identity as well.
Right. I think that you just sort of answered this question, but what do you think the biggest benefits you've seen for students, both emergent bilinguals and native English speakers in the dual language programs?
So apart from all those three components, when you are learning more than one language, your brain is developing. The connections that you are making are amazing. Once you learn two languages, the third language comes easier because those neurons are working harder and they are expanding. You are better at solving problems. You are better at communicating. Your performance skills are improving. So learning being exposed to more than one language is helping you expanding all kinds of skills. So it's not just the language, and then also that connection to the identity, to the culture. We have kids who have previous generations whose Spanish was cut, and they feel disconnected to their own roots, to their own families. So going back to that value of the first language is connecting them to themselves as well and to their identities. So it's more like the families interact with each other. They can connect to themselves. They can connect to others. So it's not just the language, but what the language can give you and what the
Hmm.
language is going to do to your brain as
Hmm.
well.
And you've talked about this already a little bit, but do you think that these programs strengthen and build cross-cultural understanding? And do you
Mhm.
think, like, secondly, do you think that that's happening in Austin specifically, within the dual language program, or what, or if there are things that could be done to increase that?
I think we have different scenarios in Austin. It's a huge district, and officially the dual language was started with those 10 pilot schools back in 2011, and it came out like best practices are good for all, right? And there was a lot of people who were coming from different backgrounds that understood the power of learning more than one language. But for others, it meant like, oh, there's gonna take more time for them to learn. The cultural thing, the pobrecitos thing. There's a lot of prejudices and biases and lack of understanding of the value of being bilingual and what does it mean. There was a lot of lack of understanding around special ed for bilingual kids or low socioeconomical students. Like, was that something good for them, or it will be better for them to just learn English and just move on into the system? So I think there are places where it's been really valued and it has been able to grow and show the potential of the program. And we can see examples around us, right? Baker or Top or Riley or schools where they have a really strong dual language program, and other schools where the dual language is the program. But because of other accountability issues and pressures for getting results, the program has been in danger or not implemented consistently. So that's why we don't see the same results or the same value. So
Right.
yeah, we have
Yeah.
different ways to implement it across the district.
Right. Okay. So, switching a little bit, how has the current political climate, including the increased presence of ICE in our communities, affected the families that you serve? Have you noticed changes in student attendance and engagement or family participation as a result?
Yes, yes. Well, we previously had this same administration, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
We already had a lot of fear, a lot of um, yes, fear and instability, and we lost some kids back there. But right now, I've never seen something like this on the engagement of the families. For instance, we used to have a lot of people coming to meet the teacher, right, or to back to school night, and we used to have a safe space and time for our families. The families would come, especially when you would offer, food and presents and family time and getting to know the teachers, getting to spend time together in a different environment. Well, Meet the Teacher was huge because we had so many issues across the district with Enroll Austin that we had a lot of families here making sure that the kids were registered. But then for back to school night, we have the lowest number of attendance ever in my 18 years in the district. The families don't feel safe to leave the house. The numbers on the schools have dropped like all of us have lost between 50 or 100 kids per school since we started the school year. Families have left during the school year as well. We have lost, like, we have death on the families. People are dying out of nowhere. And we think it's because of the pressure that they are taking on, the anxiety, the fear, the conditions they are living in. They're having heart attacks and we're just losing them. Families were just, that person was the one, the dad was the one working. And now the family needs to go back to El Salvador, Honduras, or Mexico because they cannot survive here because the mom is the one who's taking care of the little kids and maybe she's not ready to work or kind of find out. Like those situations are getting bigger and bigger. For parent conferences, same thing. They cannot come. They don't feel safe. The kids are not playing outside. They are not interacting with each other because the families don't feel safe. I don't think they even go to church anymore because it's not a safe place anymore. We have had situations where we needed to keep the kids at school and not sending them on the buses because we got a call from the apartment area where they said, ICE is here. Please do not put them on the bus. We don't want our families to be separated. And it's been really
Mhm.
scary because we want to protect our families and we want our families to trust that the kids can be here and be safe and be educated. But it's been tough. It's been really
Mhm.
tough.
Mhm. Mhm. I just want to sit with that for a moment. Like that is so heavy and it's goes against what I think our country is supposed to stand for, and I know probably
Hmm.
what brought you here. So like just taking a moment to feel that heaviness, that's yeah, feeling so much love and care for those families in our community and wish and that we can do something different. We can make it happen. So
Yeah.
something different. So, what kinds of supports, either from the district or like people like me or community organizations, do you think are most needed in the context, the political context that we're in right now?
Well, go vote, right?
Yeah.
Voting. That's, I mean, we think it's obvious, but people are not voting enough to. I think with all these moment we are living in, the consolidations, the closures, right? They are blaming the district, but people haven't been following up on what the state has done to us and what the accountability system has done to us. You asked me about the dual language programs. Well, there is inconsistency all across the district because of that pressure of the accountability system, right? When you have a kid who just come from Venezuela or from Guatemala after COVID, with 2 or 3 years of lacking of schooling, not even not because it used to be like, oh, they don't have enough English, or no, now it's like no schooling at all. The COVID years, they had no school. And after that, it took them forever to be able to go back to a little normality. So we are receiving kids in third, fourth, or fifth grade with no schooling, kids who are smart, kids who are capable, who can achieve, but we need time. The
Mhm.
accountability system is not waiting for us, right? And then
Yeah.
we are teaching them in 2 languages. And then we have the stop. I mean, it's not that they cannot do it. It's we need more time. We need more time. And we need to make sure that everything around the kid is is situated for the kid to be able to learn, right? When the kid is hungry, when the kid doesn't have a parental stable situation at home, when IC is around, when they don't have money to buy clothes, you cannot learn. We know that, right? So, but the accountability system is not looking at that. It's like whatever, like TELPAS, for instance, right? The system that we use to see how our kids are, how our students are developing their second language. What TELPAS used to be scored by us, by the teachers. There was trust on the bilingual certified teacher to be able to see where the kid was, right? How were they listening, speaking, reading, right? Now it's all on the computer. But that computer doesn't know my student. That computer doesn't know that my student has never talked to a computer before. That computer doesn't know that my student doesn't know what that picture means because he doesn't have that background. So TELPAS has become a star in English in disguise, right?
Mhm.
What are they trying to show? Oh, that dual language program is not good enough, right? That is not working because look at the scores; they are not making progress. No, maybe it's the way we are assessing them that is not connected to the way they are learning. So there is a lack of trust everywhere So I think people like you, people like me, that we have our white privilege, that we know what's going on, that we have voices, we need to help them voice themselves, voice what's going on in the communities and fight for them. They had the capacity to change the star, and what did they do? They added 3 stars now.
Mm.
So how is that gonna help my kid who just came from Venezuela? Nothing is gonna help. I need time. I need trust. We need the communities to feel safe so the kids can learn, so they can feel connected to their language and to identity, so they can feel proud of speaking more than one language. And so we need to stop that. The accountability has to be connected to the reality. It's not that they cannot learn, it's not that they cannot achieve those things. Of course they can, but we need a different way to show that. So yeah.
Absolutely. That's like we could do a whole nother episode on the accountability
Yes.
system and how it's serving or not serving our kids.
Mhm.
So you've been involved in recruiting bilingual teachers from Spain. What has that process been like in recent years, and has it become more challenging given the current political and immigration
Yes.
climate?
Yes. I've been supporting the program officially since 2013. So the last 12 years, I came like that. So I know the program really well. When I came, the salary was way higher. We didn't have that much support, but at least, just by the way we were treated here and the way we were get paid, it was worth it, right? And you were able to travel the world, live the adventure. But right now, salaries are not as high as they used to be. Living in Austin is super expensive compared to what it used to be 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And the expectations are high, and they're not scared about that. They know, the profile of the people who come are people who are hard workers, they have experience, they want to learn, they want to bring to the community. So the pre-selection is really good, and the people that come is a strong profile of people. But they come here, maybe just one of them work, they bring their families, and with just one salary in Austin ISD or Austin area, because I support other districts, it's really hard to survive, right? So
Mm.
the economically situation is not as good as it used to be. And then they are scared of the political situation, what they hear on the news, the government, the way, Texas, how, the STAR test, all those things, the accountability, the evaluations, all those things, push them back. And now add that to the visa situations like this summer, um, the embassy of the United States in Spain cancel visas, cancel the appointments for J1s because the J1 is the same, the visa that they bring is the same that universities give to their students. So because Trump wasn't happy with all the international students in Harvard and other colleges, he asked to cancel all the J1 visas, and those are the same visas that my teachers bring. So for a moment, I had teachers like they couldn't make it to the appointment. So we were able to fix it, but they always are scared to leave the country because they don't know if they're going to be able to come back.
Yeah.
You can be
Yeah.
denied at any point. Always, you can always be denied. But now it feels like it's more random, right? That there is no
Right.
reason why. So that that has become an issue. Actually, the other day I talked to human resources from our district and say, are we going to, because we still have bilingual positions to fill out, even though they're going to freeze hiring, they're not going to freeze bilingual or SPED positions because
Good.
we still have them. I
Yeah.
mean, no matter how many pieces we need to move across the schools that are closing, we still have those positions.
Hmm.
So I asked her, so are we going to go to Spain this year? Because it's an agreement that every year they need to sign, right? And she was worried about the visa situation, not about the consolidations, not about where we're going to put them. No, she needs them, but she's worried about having
Yeah.
issues with the visas. So, and before you will have like 2,000 applicants to come to the whole United States because the program is everywhere. You have less and less right now
Right.
because people are scared to come.
Yeah.
So.
So you already talked about this tension between like what the district can do and the tension like they're situated within this state that is not making it easy for us to provide quality education for all our kids. So are there things that In Austin, you think that they could do differently to recruit and retain more bilingual teachers, both locally and internationally? Or do you think it's really like a state issue or like a
I think
national thing?
it's a national issue. Right now, I'm really proud to say that we have a great support in the district. So I don't know, is there that any that we can change anything other than what it comes tricky is like we bring them and we bring them to work on, the most needed places, the highest needs Title I schools.
Hmm.
So when you place a new teacher, even though they bring with experience, but when you place brand new teacher in a completely different system in a bilingual Title I school, sometimes it's hard for them to, catch up on, all the pressure, but they ended up surviving and being successful. That is tricky. We are giving them all the support we can through talent and development, through the multilingual department, and through myself. So I don't think that's something is there's anything else we can do. It's more of the general situation we are on it.
Yeah. And what kinds of supports and incentives? You said that the salary like relative has been going down in the last 15 years, but are there anything else that could make the biggest difference for bilingual teachers once they're here and once they're in the classroom?
For the international ones, they give them a temporary certification, so that helps because they can get the bilingual stipend. So that's a good incentive. They come early enough. I mean, I don't know if an economical help or support, but in the way the situation we are right now in the district, I cannot ask for more.
Right.
Um, we have systems in place for them to, have a temporary housing that is not expensive. We transport them everywhere until they have their own cars. They receive a specific PD for them. So I don't know what else can we do for them other than pairing them or placing them in places where they will value them. I have had, but it's a minimum number of teachers that ended up in schools where they are not appreciated or they are not valued. So I think that's the
That's
only
hard.
thing that we can do to get better, right?
Yeah.
Make sure that where they ended up is where they're going to be appreciating them, understanding where they're coming from, understanding that they need time to adjust, that the kind of support they need. And like any other teacher, right? They will be successful at the end with the right support. So I think that will be my only thing.
Right.
That sometimes because we need to be politically correct and because that school has 7 vacancies, and so we need to give them, at least one or two, because we are making an effort, right, of recruiting outside. We are making an investment. So we cannot just say, okay, just for these 5 schools, or we need to be equitable and fair on the decisions that we make, but sometimes those schools don't appreciate them and it's a waste of
Yeah.
time and effort.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
think that making sure that they are on the right placement.
And yeah, and a supportive community. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so switching gears a little bit again, the district is going through this consolidation process where we're in a budget crisis again, not the district's fault, more of like where we are in the state and nationally.
Mhm.
But from your perspective as a longtime East Austin educator, how does the district's consolidation and facilities plan affect the students and communities that you serve?
Our communities have no clue of what's going on most of the time. I made sure that I raised my voice on their behalf. Like, for instance, for Andrews, the big change was we were losing access to Marshall Middle School as a feeder. On the first draft, Marshall was taken away from us. And I thought that was super unfair and mm, not an option for. So I raise my voice to make sure that they could consider getting us back, and they did it for the second draft. We half of our school now can be zoned to Marshall again, but our families don't have the time to be listening to board meetings or to consolidation meetings. They don't feel ready. They don't feel that they have the capacity to participate on those meetings. It's not just the language that it might be a barrier, it's the way they're getting the communication. It doesn't matter if you put it on Facebook or you send an email or you send a text message. It's too big for them to like, they see it like, this is not for me. They need, if they really want their voices to be heard, they need to go knock, knocking doors, having community meetings on their apartment complexes, hear their voices, and report back because that's where they are. They are not going anywhere. They are scared to go anywhere because of the situation and because they don't feel empowered. They don't feel like their voices
Hmm.
matter.
Hmm.
So most of our students don't know what's going on right now.
Right.
They don't know that win might be with us next year. Who knows now? Because I don't know
Yeah,
anymore
yeah, we don't know.
the draft. But they don't know. I had a family. I hosted an event for dyslexic families, for families with students with dyslexia, bilingual, in person. I got food. I got daycare. I mean, extended care for the kids to stay. I had 4 families attending out of my 300 students. One of them was a family from Win that she got the information through the community. And I told her, oh, welcome. I'm so glad that you are here. You know that you're going to be joining us next year. She had no clue. So she got my flyer from the bilingual dyslexia night. So she is engaged in the
Yeah,
community. She had no clue that
yeah,
Win and Andrews were going to be together.
yeah.
So the information is not getting to them, and it's
Yeah.
not just the language. For them, it's like a different world. So
So
if they want to hear them, they need to go door to door to door.
the last process in 2019, I think they had more of these like community meetings where they would gather in places and take
Mhm.
time, like these listening sessions, which I don't think that they've done as much.
No.
Maybe because like who knows, they're also the staff in central office has been
Yes,
paid
it's
down a
really
lot.
short.
Yeah.
Short.
But so if they had more things like that in person where voices could be heard, that might be more accessible, is what you're saying, than like
I
just
think so.
through
Yes,
technology. Okay.
yes. My
Um,
parents don't. They don't feel empowered to join a Zoom meeting, and then you are listening to a webinar, and then out of nowhere, now you are a speaker. Like those things are too much, too much. They are not
yeah,
used to.
yeah. What would you want district leaders and trustees to understand about the unique needs of bilingual campuses during this consolidation process and decisions?
I've been listening to all those meetings, right? And I had the privilege of having my own kids in a bilingual campus. They are learning Chinese when our home language obviously is not Chinese. So I understand perfectly fine who it belongs, right? Our emerging bilinguals are the ones who, by law, by right, have to be the priority for dual language programs. That's it. Emerging bilinguals have to be the priority anywhere in the district. I think there is a space for zone and non-zone, but transportation has to be provided for emerging bilinguals. Priority seats has to be provided for emerging bilinguals on zone and non-zone schools. Like, yes, we can have a lottery, but that lottery has to be some safe seats first for emerging bilinguals. We need to be really careful at balancing those seats. We need to have consistency across the board. We try with Gomez and Gomez, we try with the multilingual department, we try and we try and we try, but still, everybody's doing their own thing, depending on where you look at, because of the pressure of the accountability, because of the pressure of, well, by the time they go to middle school, they cannot take the test in Spanish. So let's push them to English so they can perform, because of the pressure of showing that growth that is cut when you change the language of assessment. So it's because of what the state is doing to us
Yeah.
that the principals are making those decisions of doing their own thing. Well, we need to be consistent on that. We need to protect the emerging bilinguals, protect the program, and protect the principals so they have some wiggle room to breathe and implement the program the way it's supposed to be. And yeah, we need to prioritize our emerging bilinguals. They have to be them first and then the rest. There's a space for everybody. I
Mhm.
know my kids have the privilege to have a bilingual education when it's not the right. So they have to be second. Our
Yeah.
emerging language had to be first.
Okay, so I'm going to skip one question, then come back to it in a minute. But I think that you read that policy brief that I put out on like the enrollment policy for these non-zone
Yeah.
schools, because what I noticed in some of these dual language campuses where the dual language, the two-way was put there to serve the emergent bilinguals, what
Hmm.
happens over time is if enough like enough English speaking white families, people
Hmm.
who come in with privilege, enough of them come into the school,
Hmm.
then the perceived value, not the, I'm not talking about the value of the school, but
Hmm.
parents perceive the value of the school changes and it
Mhm.
becomes in more demand.
Mhm.
And then that can price out the families that program was intended for in the first place. And I like looked at, these schools over time and Becker right now has only
Okay.
12%
Mhm.
emergent bilinguals. And so for me, when I was teaching at Pillow last year, there were some bilingual positions that were served by subs
Mhm.
or like were not filled the
Mhm.
entire year, right? The
Yeah.
entire year. And so I have a problem. I was having a problem with why are we sending this? We like definitely we need to do all these other things. We need to like ensure that we have enough qualified bilingual teachers and recruiting people and making sure that they feel safe and that they're well paid and doing all of that so that there should be
Mhm.
abundance everywhere. But in this situation where we're at now, it didn't
Mhm.
seem to me that the district was following their professed what they say that we're for
Mhm.
equity and for serving who needs
Mhm.
it, but when we're then giving like extra resources to these schools where it wasn't necessary, right? It's like
Mhm.
but getting bilingual is great. It's a great extra, but it's not the same as for emergent bilinguals who are coming in
Yeah.
and who are not having a teacher in their classroom who can speak Spanish. And so
Yeah.
that's why I wrote that. And I was not trying to say we should not have dual language and bilingual education in all of the neighborhood schools who need it. But when we have these two-way dual language systems, having very tight guardrails to ensure that suddenly the emergent bilinguals are not pushed out, and that like I did my dissertation on choice schools and transportation has
Mhm.
got to be a part of that. If
Yes.
the district is saying we're going to do choice without transportation, that's not real choice. It's not real
No,
choice.
it's not. No, because I was thinking about our Montessori kids, right, in Win. Now if they take out the Montessori program out of Win, these parents cannot transport them to Go Valley or to
No.
Zavala or to wherever they want to take it.
Hmm.
So how you allow them to commit to the program, and now you're taking it, like you need to provide transportation for that, or take it away. Like
Right. Or take it
take
away, or take it if we
it
can't do
away.
it, take it away.
And for dual language, and I think the district realized that because, like I said, when we are bringing the international teachers for the last 2 or 3 years, it has been a command from human resources. I cannot, in collaboration with human resources, I cannot place them in schools that they are not priority schools until the priority schools have looked at them and said, I need to prioritize them to choose them, and until I have heard from all of them if they want them or not, I cannot offer them to other schools that are not priority. And by
Hmm.
priority, I mean Title I, high need schools like mine, like Pillow, schools. So I think they were realizing that and they were trying to fix that internally. Then, as a perspective from a teacher, right, you apply to a district, and I don't think it will be fair to tell that person, oh, you cannot apply to this, so you can just apply to this. But there has to be a way to incentivize. And there's some kind of incentive of working at high priority schools, like through PPFT, you get more points, so you can
Yeah.
get more
But there
money.
should be even
But I think it's
more.
more.
Yeah.
More
Yeah.
because, it's like working in a top school, the added stress and work that you're going to add, there's no money that's going to pay that. And the resources that they say they're going to give you, well, we'll see. So I don't know, it might be like a smaller ratio on those schools that they have higher needs. I don't know, you need to incentivize those teachers so they choose that school instead of,
Yeah.
that school that might be easier some ways because each school has, the ups and downs. Like working at
Yeah. Yeah.
Becker
Yeah.
is not easy at all for other
Yeah. It's not
reasons.
easy. It's not easy anywhere in the district,
Anywhere. So, but a
but
way to prioritize that, you
right.
have this amount of bilingual certified teachers, you need to prioritize to place them in these schools. And once those schools are covered, those things are covered, then you can open up to other places. But they need to, set up those pathways for
Yes.
those.
But then I don't like for me, I'm like, we should not be putting two-way dual language programs in neighborhood schools that
Mhm.
don't have the emergent bilingual population to fill 50%
Yeah,
of the seats.
yeah,
And
at
if
least 50%.
at least 50%, and if it changes, if it
Hmm.
used to be and now it changes, then we need to make hard decisions about where to move that program and
Yes,
where to
and
move those resources.
like I was listening to your conversation with Nadia and conversations that I heard coming from the district, like those changes on boundaries every 3 4 years. Well, then we need to do that ongoing. Like we need to be
Yes.
reassessing what is the state of how many allocations for bilingual educators we are giving to each school every year, the boundaries, the grandfathering processes, like all those things. I don't like that word. All the things have to be reevaluated because they haven't been for 20, 30 years.
Right,
So
right, right,
that's
right.
how we
Um,
evaluate.
and I think like Bear Creek, they don't have a dual
Mhm.
language this year. Is
No,
that correct? Okay. Well, that drove me that was like, why are we putting a dual language? It felt
yeah,
to me
there's no population.
where there's no population. It felt to me that there was a bunch of privileged white parents who were like,
Obviously,
I want the language, but I don't want
yeah.
the brown kids.
Well, that's happening as a parent from Riley, and that's
And
happening in the neighborhood. Rich
right,
stuff
right.
now is closing, and they are not happy because they are losing their neighborhood school dual language program. I get it. That was super affordable and convenient, right? But nobody's saying that you cannot continue dual language.
Yeah,
It says that you need to grab your car and drive your kid to
yeah.
the neighborhood that maybe you don't like that much. But it belongs to them. And that's what we need to understand. It belongs to them. It belongs
Belongs
to
to
the
it.
kids in
Yes.
Pico. It belongs to the kids at Wooten. It belongs to the kids because there are no zone kids
Right,
who are emerging bilinguals anymore here.
right.
So it's what it is.
And if we did have if we did have non-zone schools that were ensuring 50-50 or even like 60% Spanish, 40, whatever we decided the rules were, I
Mhm.
think that they needed to provide, like, I think they would need to provide transportation to
Of course.
everybody.
And that's what we are advocating for. Like so Riley is moving to Wooten, right? It's gonna be the
Right.
wall to wall. But the first thing we advocated for was we want our students who were bused from the St. John's area to Riley. Our emerging bilinguals are bused right now from the St. John's area to Riley. That's how they got 40%, 45% bilingual, emerging bilinguals on Riley because they are bused from there. We want them to bus them to Wooten because now the plan is to bus them to Harris. No, we want our community together.
To
We want
stay.
them
Yeah.
to be bused to Wooten and the Wooten kids to have priority to stay at the zone school,
Yeah.
even if they are a non-zone school, because they are the ones
Yeah.
should be the priority. There is
Right.
a
Right.
space for everybody else.
Yes, I agree. I think that it's really important to like prioritize the buckets first, like saying,
Yeah.
and then within this bucket, we're going to give priority to whoever,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
yeah. So, okay, I want to go back to this other question. So since the last board meeting, the superintendent sent out an email saying that they were taking Briker Woods, Maplewood, and Palm off of the closure list. Briker Woods and Maplewood were some of the only non-Title I schools on the closure list. And in the original closure plan, EcoDist students were about 1.4 times as likely to be in the closed schools as non-EcoDist students. But in this new plan, that disparity has risen to about 1.7 times as likely to be in a closed school. Hispanic students in the original plan were about 1.6 times as likely as white students to be in a closed school, but in the new plan, they are over 2 times as likely to be in a closed school. 2.1 for exactly.
Mhm.
And black students were about 1.6 times as likely as white students in the original plan to be in a closed school. And now in the new plan, they are about 2.2 times as likely as white students to be in the closed school. So these changes are as we would suspect impacting our black, brown, and eco-dis students at higher levels now than they were before. And this is very similar to the last plan. Hi, y'all. I was just rewatching the interview that I did with Blanca about a lot of important issues. I'm really glad that I got to sit down with her, but I noticed that I did not offer a lot of clarity on the closure plans. I just finished talking about the 2025 closure plan. We originally had 13 schools on the closure list, and um, the superintendent just a few days ago took 3 of the schools, Briker Woods, Maplewood, and Palm, off the list. And I explained how that changed the impact of disparities and who were in closed schools. In the next clip, I'm about to start talking about the plans back in 2019-20, the last time we closed schools. So at that time, we had a big long list of schools that were up for possible closures, which was inequitable in the first place. But then when they whittled it down to the 4 that were actually closed, there were very, very stark disparities, which I'm going to explain in this next clip. And I'm also going to put a policy brief up. So in both times, both in 2019, 2020, we had a list, it got whittled down, and that change meant that Black, Brown, and economically disadvantaged students were more impacted in the second plan. And that's the same thing that's happening now in 2025. We had a list, some schools were taken off for whatever reason, and the change in disparities and who was affected in this new plan meant that Black, Brown, and economically disadvantaged students in this new plan were affected at greater extents than in the first plan of the district. So I just wanted to clarify that. I was talking about first plan and second plan, and I wanted to make sure everyone knew we had a first plan, second plan now in 2025, but we also had one back in 2019, just to clear that up. Thanks so much. When we had, the disparities were much greater in the last plan, but of course, when they took off schools, the schools that remained on the closure list, I think that I have it on a slide. I went back and looked at all the data, but in the last plan, Black students were more than 4 times as likely to be in a closed school than white students, and Hispanic students were almost 3 times as likely. So, like these huge disparities, which is, why Dr. Hawley said this is 21st century racism. And it's slightly better this time, but it's still not where it should be. And by taking those schools off the list, they're making it more inequitable. So I just want to give you a chance to share your thoughts on that, about the change of the abrupt change to the plan. And do you think that this disparity impact is important, or
I think I
something that
think it's
happens?
I think it's important because at the end of the day, when on the first plan, it was obvious that the east side Austin was more affected like than the west side again, right? And you look back on the history of
Yeah.
segregation and busing kids and all that we have heard over and over. It was like, okay, here we are again. But then, and I've been following up really closely all the decisions, and I see it from the different perspective. I see it from the point of a teacher. I have the understanding of being advocating, so I understand the state of the district really well, and I know we need to make these decisions. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when we were talking about closing, they back up again, right? And those schools that should have been closed, Richtop, Baker, those were on the list already.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the white privilege pushback, this is not what I want. And whoever was making the decisions back then, they said, well, never mind. And then they closed other East Side schools later on. We ended up giving schools to charter schools because of the results. So it's always the same story. Who are the voices that you can hear the most, right? But then what I am concerned is, and I trust Matthias, and I think he's trying to do this with his heart and trying to hear everybody, but I don't think he's hearing. Not because they don't want, but because the voices are not being loud enough, right? The community is not speaking. But if he felt like his people were not doing things right, I honor that he's stopping that. I also have a feeling that trustees have told him that they are not going to vote on this, that they are not giving him the support he needs. Because I am reading those emails, those comments online on the feedback that they are giving to the second draft. I don't think that they are supporting the second draft again. So I think he's stuck between TA And if you don't finalize those TAP plans by November 21st, we are going to take over. And the community saying, well, but you cannot close us because there's no rush because the economical situation can be delayed. And he was trying to tackle all things at the same time. And his team didn't have the heart probably on the decisions. And because I read a lot of comments on how some people didn't believe that the community engagement was needed, right? That they already make the decisions and whatever the community will say will not change anything. So if this is what his team was thinking, then I honor that he's stopping some of the decisions. But why those three schools, right? Why? That's what I don't. At the end of the day, is Austin Brown and Hispanic kids who are taking the biggest toll on this.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
now the community is even more confused because there are three things going on: the tab closures, the boundaries changes, and the closures because of the economical situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now nobody knows what's
Nobody
going on.
knows. And I feel like we were told that these changes were necessary.
And I think that was necessary because there is a deadline by TA for
Yeah.
the tab closures. And
Yes.
that's, I
That's
understand.
that's still happening. But like
But,
with the
but
yeah.
the thing is, we cannot help the tab schools
Yeah.
if we don't have the money. We are
Right.
asking for a loan to be able to make the November paycheck
Right.
right now. That tells me that we need to take action. And that's what people, I understand that it feels like rush, that we are taking too many decisions at the same time. But what he is seeing, or that's what I think he is seeing, is like, yeah, but if I don't have the resources, if I don't close these schools, if I don't get those highly qualified bilingual certified teachers from here that I need here, how do you want me to fix this? I mean, this, because we approve a tab, magic is not going to happen from one day to another. If it's the same people with the same resources, with the same time, with the same pressure, nothing is going to change. They are working their asses
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't want to those kids to
Mm,
perform. They
right.
need more and they need less kids in the room and they need more resources and they need more support. That more comes from here. If
Yeah.
you don't close here, you have your resources spread everywhere. That's what people don't understand. I understand the rushing and it hurts. I don't want to leave my school for my kids either, but this is not sustainable right
Right.
now.
Right. It's not sustainable. And so like they're still moving ahead with all the TAP plans and all that because we
Mhm.
have to, but they
You have a
also
deadline.
told us that it was necessary, like you said, for the financial
Mhm.
well-being of the district. And if we're not doing these things now, then how is that changing our financial prospects and our
Well, we are
ability,
gonna
like
keep
you
asking
said?
for loans. We are gonna keep asking for loans.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
They
Um,
already asked for a loan that we are gonna pay. I don't know how much interest in January because they don't have cash
right,
because of the legislation. I mean, it's people don't want to see it. I understand it hurts.
right.
I understand, but and we didn't get here out of nowhere in 6 months. It's been years of
Yes,
neglecting the
yes,
situation
yes. And I feel like a lot of the community doesn't pay attention until something like this comes up and are saying it's
on
a
their back,
rush. It's a
on their
rush. And
back
I'm like, wait a
until
minute.
it directly affects them on their houses, on their schools.
Right,
Because when we were advocating at the Capitol, when we were talking, they didn't
right,
pay attention or they didn't go vote on they because it didn't connect to them.
right, 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 right. Um, all right, so let's get back to that. What do you think the barriers current how do what barriers currently limit access to dual language programs for families who want them, and how can enrollment policies better reflect the goals of linguistic equity and integration in the district?
I think, like we said, have emergent bilinguals be the priority, be careful with those, accessing the enrolling, the ways you are having access to the families to make sure that, they have the seats prioritized for them. And then the families don't know, like, again, we need to make information accessible for them. They need to know what is their right, what is, because their home language is Spanish, what that entitles, explain the program, explain the benefits of the program as well, because there is a lot of lack of trust on the program. A lot of families still think that it's better that they learn English the faster they can. And they don't know that they can also continue multilingual education or bilingual education in middle school and high school, having consistency, having not just information translated, but information in advance in different ways for them to access that. Help them through the process. The enroll Austin is terrible, and the application process is really hard sometimes. So make it more accessible for them.
Right, right.
And the
Okay,
transportation, like we
and
said.
the transportation. Like
Mhm.
don't make choice schools if you're not
Yes,
gonna like then it's
yes,
not choice. Yeah.
transportation.
What does an ideal future for bilingual education in Austin look like to you?
Consistency across the district, resources, like we said, highly qualified bilingual teachers where they are most needed, um, accountability system that is adjusted to the programming and the needs of the campuses. Like we need to keep fighting for that star and tell pass and all those things. They cannot manage our lives. They are damaging the education because we are in our schools teaching for that, because that is managing everything, what is dictating our education right now. So advocating for public education that getting that trust back to the teachers and back to the district, and give us time to show performance, because
Hmm.
they can really do it.
Hmm.
We need best practices for all, consistency on the programming, and trust on the program.
Well said. And then my final question, how can the community, families, educators, and policymakers work together to protect and strengthen the dual language programs here in Austin?
I think what we just said, and work together, trust each other, work with the multilingual department, work with the board of trustees, with the superintendent. I think the key is the consistency. We are trying all to make it happen different ways, and we are damaging the program because we have a lot of mobility, a lot of newcomers, a lot of different systems everywhere. We need to have consistency across the district, and bring the resources to where they are most needed.
Right. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to add to our
No,
conversation
thank you
before
so
we end?
much. Thank you
Okay.
for the opportunity.
Thank you. Gracias.
Gracias.